What's good, everybody? We're gonna go ahead and invite Weather Coast on here. So, who all don't know me, I am Robert Jones. I'm the communications director here at the Smile Trust. And we like to do these lives to update, inform, and educate everybody on what's going on in the climate. So I know we all have been seeing these extreme weather conditions happen between LA, Florida. Um, and we're just gonna talk the weather coast, get an update on climate change, try and figure out what's going on. So let's see if we can get him on here real quick. All right, so we're waiting on Weather Coast to join the live. If y'all got any questions, concerns, make sure y'all hit the DM. Let us know what's up, what questions you have, and we're gonna get them answered. But yeah, if you know anybody that's want to know more about climate change, climate gentrification, how to sustain through a major disaster, y'all reach out to us and send them our Instagram, and we gonna help them out. If y'all know anybody that's in Florida that need direct services, we got community gardens. We do different feedings every third Sunday of the month, which we're gonna start amplifying, doing them every month, every other week. So yeah, so I just hit up Weather Coast. Let's see if he on here to join us. Y'all please share the live. Get more people on it, especially if y'all got questions. We're gonna take all of the questions at the end of the conversation. And yeah, man, we hope y'all enjoy it. Let's see where he at. I'm sending him a text message right now. All right, he just texted me back. It's not showing your live. So shout out to everybody that kept their TikTok. I know a lot of people deleted it with what was going on, but yeah, man, we back. We're gonna try and keep these updates going. And there you go, right there. What's good, my friend?
You got the background working, huh?
Yeah, I figured it out, man. So what's good, man? How you been doing, man?
Hey, it's working, bro. Same old, trying to figure out what's going on with this planet.
Right, that's what I was just explaining to everybody. The purpose of this live, to educate, inform, and update people on what's been going on in the climate. Um, we've been getting a lot of cold weather here in Florida. May
Mm.
not be cold to you because you from up north. I seen you wrote me. Like it's not that cold. It was freezing.
Yeah.
If it get in the 40s down here in Miami, it's cold. I don't know. I don't know about you. If the 40s not cold to you,
Nah, I mean, I done been out here long enough for my blood done starting to thin out a little bit. So at this point, if it ain't 70s, 80s, I'm probably a little cold too.
all right. So yeah, man, I got a few questions that I wrote down that we've been discussing here in the office and just trying to, like we said, we've been just trying to figure out this climate change and what's been going on.
Hmm.
Um, so the first thing I want to ask you, right? If if global warming is making the earth hotter, why are we seeing unusual cold snaps and even in snow in Florida? Shouldn't it be getting warmer?
Hmm. That's a great question because I know a lot of people think about global warming and they think about it like that's the overall increase in the planet's gradual temperature, right, or overall temperature, right? But the thing is, global warming and climate change are two completely different things. So, for example,
Okay.
global warming is right the increase of the overall globe's average temperature, but what that's doing is causing climate change. So we have something called the jet stream. I've talked about it, plenty of times. The jet stream is something that influences and controls pretty much a lot of our weather. It's a band of winds that's way up in the atmosphere, miles ahead of us or miles above us. And essentially, the jet stream is something that usually is stable. It's something that usually operates, on a somewhat of a straight line. But because places are getting warmer that they haven't been warm before, the balance is getting thrown off. The poles are warmer now too, so that balance of the jet stream being able to divide cold from warm temperatures is confused. As it gets
Okay.
confused, it gets wavy. So instead of being, kind of a consistent line, it's now turned into something like this. So when that happens, it dips down into the US. It brings all that cold Arctic air that's not supposed to be down here with it. And as it does that, it makes everything significantly cold. And that's why we've had those two or three polar vortex incidences, right? This summer, excuse me, this winter already. And honestly, I think we're looking at another one within the next week or so. Florida, South Florida has been
Wow.
somewhat all right, right? Like we haven't gone below freezing or nothing like that, right? But if the polar vortex was to dip far
Right.
enough, we could easily, be right in the mix of those freezing temperatures.
So when was the last time it ever snowed in Miami, and could we be expecting snow here?
I believe the last time snow fell to mine was the 1950s, some random event where it was like a trace amount of snow that fell. Um,
Okay. Yeah.
do I see snow happening in Miami? I was just telling V about this the other day. I don't think that's ever going to happen. No, I mean, I shouldn't say it's never going to happen. Do I think it's going to happen anytime soon? Probably not. But the likelihood of it happening is increasing.
Yeah. Okay. So another question I wanted to ask you, the wildfires in LA, right? It seems like they keep getting worse every year. Some
Mm-hmm.
people believe they're not all natural disasters.
Mm-hmm.
Do you think that it's weather manipulation or geoengineering could be at play?
So I'll say this: the causes to the wildfires, that's one situation that I feel like we haven't, fully parsed out as much. I will say that 90 to 95% much. I will say that 90 to 95%, maybe. So something at some point, whether somebody, has a cigarette and they don't put it out completely, or a blunt and they don't put it out completely and it falls into the grassland and lights a fire, right? Or somebody doesn't take care of their campfire the way that they should, that may ignite a fire, right? But what's
Hmm.
really the biggest thing behind these fires, because a fire could start, and it could stop, it could get put out immediately. But the thing that's happening is we have all
Right.
this fuel that allows the fires to continue growing, continue getting bigger, continue growing faster, things like that, right? So what happened in California was a mix of a lot of different things that all happened at the right time. The cause, that's something that's still trying to be figured out, but we know that there was a lot of fuel for the fires. And why? Because California got a lot of rain in a very short amount of time last year, or excuse me, during the whole wet season. It was really wet. So a lot of the plants and vegetation, boom, they started to get really big, they started to grow. And then we ran into a drought. So that drought in California ended up pretty much drying everything out. And when stuff dries out, it's more flammable, right? So all of that dead
Hmm.
vegetation that didn't get the amount of water that it got last year dried out and turned into fuel for the fire. So when it started, it just, it blew up into an inferno. Not to mention the winds also at this time of year called the Santa Ana winds, which are a result of the topography out there and also the climate system out there created this really, really weird situation where the winds are blowing super fast and causing, the fire to spread even faster than when it normally does. So I think that's the situation that, it's just, is geoengineering a thing? Absolutely. That we could see clouds, if clouds there, we can put, silver iodide in the clouds to make them, rain. But we need clouds there in the first place. We can't make hurricanes.
Hmm.
We can start fires, but can we make a fire of this size? No. It all starts from something. And I think the really suspicious thing here is how these fires started in the first place. That's what I'm curious to know about.
Okay. Yeah, because I've been wondering, I got a friend that actually live out in LA, And he said the same thing. Like it don't seem like this just happened like a natural disaster. Somebody had to cause the fire, and like how you always say, it just was a mixture of a lot of things that just kept it going.
Hmm.
But like how it got started was just like kind of well, they still don't know how it got started, but to him, he said that it was kind of crazy how the chain of events happened. Where they had a lot of wind that week and all of that type of stuff. Um, with Florida experiencing unexpected snow and LA facing devastating fires, is it possible that that shifting climate patterns are being artificially accelerated? And I'm asking because these are some of the things that people have these barbershop talks,
Yeah.
office talks, and around in the climate, and you directly involved.
Hmm. Yeah.
So is that a possibility?
No. So are these things again like the wildfires? Like could that have been started by something suspicious? At the right time. So the winds were going to be strong. We knew that things were going to get bad. Could that have been the case? Absolutely. But climate change, didn't start those fires. Climate change just made it worse. That's really what everything is climate change is a threat amplifier. Can we accelerate the climate to make it worse? I mean, the one thing that we are doing is emitting a whole bunch of CO2 gases in the air, right? That can intensify global warming, which in turn intensifies climate change, right? But we don't have machines
Hmm.
that can make the jet stream go faster. We don't have machines that can make hurricanes. We don't have machines that can make thunderstorms. It's just a lot of that stuff is that's the stuff that I want people to move away from because the earth is just too big. The systems that happen are way too powerful, and it's not something that we could determine.
Okay. So, and I'm like I said, I'm just trying to really get a better understanding of a lot of things. So, could it be that, since the chain of events happened, like if climate is responsible for extreme cold and extreme heat, does that contradict the argument that the planet is only getting warmer?
Mm. No, it doesn't. It contributes to the fact that climate change is being intensified by the overall increase of the globe's average temperature. So as the temperature gets of the globe gets warmer, and different climates, are dealing with different things that never had to deal with before. The Earth is essentially trying to reach a balance. Everything operates in a balance, right? So when the surface absorbs a whole bunch of heat throughout the course of the day, it re-emits it at night. That's because it's trying to achieve a balance, right? Wind is a
Hmm.
result of the atmosphere trying to be at balance. So we have low pressure in one area, we have high pressure in another. The air usually flows from high pressure to low pressure. That's what creates winds in a lot of different scenarios, right? So essentially, what the Earth is trying to do is reach a balance. It's trying to reach a balance in temperature. It's trying to reach a balance in pressure. We see that in the water too. The water is really the same thing as the air. It's just a little bit heavier. We're seeing essentially just the Earth trying to reach a balance. And as it tries to reach that balance, it gets cold in some places, it gets warm in some places. And as it gets more intensified, we're seeing, these events happen in places where it hasn't happened before. 10 inches of snow in New Orleans, or excuse me, in Florida, that's unheard of, but that's the Earth trying to reach a balance, essentially.
Okay. So, you mentioned something about chemtrails, right? And I know some people think that the chemtrails are affecting weather patterns. Do you see any legitimacy to that idea?
No, no, they're not influencing overall climate. Could a trail of chemicals induce acid rain in a certain area? Yeah, maybe if for example a factory is emitting a whole bunch of toxic chemicals into the air. A lot of that stuff has been ruled out with the Clean Air Act, which happened in the 1960s. So we don't see that as much. But acid raining was definitely a thing when the air particles would combine with the toxic chemicals, and it would rain, and it would rain acid rain, right? But that's not something that's going to happen on a large scale. That would happen, the same way that rain happens here. Like rain happens, it could be raining in Liberty City and not raining in Coconut Grove, right? So that's just small scale stuff that happens. It's not large scale dynamic things.
Okay. So we got a lot of spectacles, right? Do you believe that the climate crisis is being um, over exaggerated for political or economic reasons?
I mean, too much of anything is bad, right? I always say that. I think we definitely do have some alarmism. We definitely do have some people that are taking stuff a little bit too far. Like there was scientists that were saying that we reached like a global boiling point at some point. I think that's a
Hmm.
little dramatic. I don't think we need to be going that far because if it was a boiling point, we all be boiling. It ain't that hot. It gets hot in some places. Don't get me wrong, and it's definitely a result of climate change. But we're not at a global boiling point yet. A lot of this stuff can be turned around. I think a lot of people have a concern, now with, Trump being in office. What does that mean for our climate? Does that mean we get about to get rolled back, 50 years because we got removed from the Paris Climate Agreement, all those different kinds of things? There's definitely stuff to think about. But I also think there's a way to talk about it in a way that's like, all right, this isn't good. The climate is changing. That's something we need to pay attention to. But also, we don't need to run around with our heads cut off because it's not at that level yet, but it could get there, and that's the issue.
Right. And I think it's lack of information what got people, running around with their head cut off and coming up with their own theories and things like that. So that's why I think these conversations are important, not just around hurricane season. That's why I reached out to you because I saw that you had did the live and some of the things that you were saying. Um, I kind of agree with, like I said, I kind of, agree with, disagree with, listen to a lot of people and just try to, formulate, what's actually going on.
Hmm.
But could the unusual weather in Florida be linked to changes in the ocean, or jet streams or something else that works that the public aren't aware of?
Absolutely. I think one thing that's another good example is Miami used to be a place, for example, that you could go outside. As far as I know, from what I've heard from folks, I ain't been here long enough, but I know you grew up here, right? So like you knew
Yeah,
what it's like to be in South Florida. You used to be able to go outside, go to the beach any time of day, right? And it wouldn't be crazy hot.
facts.
We are losing a sea breeze. Like that sea breeze that usually used to happen is going away. And
Hmm.
it's going away because the ocean's getting warmer. And again, that's another example of balance. For example, there was a sea breeze because the ocean would be warmer than the land at nighttime. So
Okay.
when the ocean is just as warm as the land, there's no balance. I mean, there's no balance. There's no wind blowing from any direction because it's the same temperature. So the ocean getting warmer, definitely. The jet stream getting confused. That's why it's been so cold down here. Colder than normal. Because even in the winter, like, would y'all ever touch like the 40s, the 50s that often, or would it be in like the 60s for the most part?
In my time, no, I don't remember it getting that cold to like the 40s. Um, but like I said, if it dropped below 60, it's cold to us.
Yeah,
You
yeah.
know what I mean? But
But
cold to me.
even in
Definitely
my
a good thing.
5 years that I spent in Miami, I feel like it's been in the 40s, maybe like I don't know, not that much, but it's been happening more in the last couple of years or so. So,
Hmm.
again, that's a result of the jet stream being confused, and dropping way too far south than it usually does. The polar jet stream is supposed to be up by the poles. It's not supposed to be up, over the U.S. And I think that's something that's definitely triggering these climate episodes.
All right. Before we check the chat to see if any questions, I think I just got one last thing I want to ask you. Some say that weather predictions seem to be getting more extreme and less reliable.
Hmm.
Do you think it's due to unpredictable climate change or could it be something else?
I think it's a mix of things. I think meteorologists, climatologists, they have a really hard job. They're trying to predict climate in a climate that's changing, right? And that's tough. But from what I know, like everybody knew it was gonna get cold when it got cold, right? That's a result of scientists and climatologists knowing that, like, okay, we're about to deal with some type of polar vortex incident. We may not be on the dot all the time, like what time it's going to rain at and where it's going to rain at exactly. But, I don't think meteorologists and climate scientists try to do that. I think they try to give you a good idea of like, okay, there is a 40% chance of rain in this area at a certain point. You need to keep that in
Hmm.
mind, right? I do think we're doing a pretty decent job at that. But I also think, as hurricanes get stronger, for example, during hurricane season, keeping an eye on these hurricanes, where they go, how big they get, is something that's going to be, a challenge.
All right. So yeah, man, we need to figure out how many more times we could do this, especially just if it's just to hop on live just to talk and update people on what's going on. because we do have Smile Trust Atlanta. I know they dealing with a lot of unusual cold weather, and it's a lot of states that's pretty much never had freezing temperatures that's dealing with certain things. So, however, we could use our platform to educate, update people on what's going on. I think that we should try our best to do that, man. Do we have any questions in the chat? Do you see any questions or anybody that's asking anything?
Nah, I've just seen a lot of people joining in and jumping out, but I haven't seen any questions.
Okay. So yeah, I don't see any questions either. If you don't have anything else that you want to update people on, could you at least tell people how to stay safe with the climate that you have been studying and things that you have seen so far?
Yeah. So my sister's but a comment. Jacksonville was below 40 degrees and windy for Thanksgiving. Is that normal? Jacksonville is on the northern end of Florida, so that's not as foreign for Jacksonville. But if that happened in Miami, that would be a problem. Yeah, so stay tuned to Weather Coast here on TikTok, Weather Coast on Instagram too. I'm glad we got TikTok back now, so we can stay here. Hopefully, y'all don't be deleting the app or your phone because it ain't in the app store no more. But yeah, we're gonna be here. We're gonna be on Instagram, and yeah, let's keep doing this. Let's do it more often, so we can keep folks updated, especially as we get closer to hurricane season.
All right, man. Appreciate you, man. Have a good day, man.
Always.
All right.